Hello, good evening, class. Hello.
Good evening, we can hear you.
Hello. 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 Pick now. Hello.
Hello, we can hear you, sir.
Please, can someone respond?
We are responding, we can hear you.
You can hear me. Thank you. Hey, I need your response, please. Please, on a quick one, let's start our class. It's going to be a very brief class because it's raining every day before the network disrupt our lecture again. So I've been trying to share this class so that we can be on the same page. Was having constraints in doing that. So our lecture tonight focus on the pestle analysis and the Potas diamonds theory. As we all know, that the multidisciplinary case study cut across virtually everything that we have done and learned, right from the foundation level and the rest. But the most important thing and the rationale why I can said all the models that we have treated, particularly at the skill level, it was categorically and emphatically stated that students are required and advised that they must revisit all the theories and models they have learned at the skill level because they have strategic relevance and important role to play in answering the pre-seen and seen and post-seen questions, meaning that all the models and theories will be tested in the exam, depending on the nature of the case scenario given to us and depending on the model we are required to use. And at times, the model needed for you to analyze the case study So, hello, can you hear me, please? Okay, so I said in some instances, the model that is required to solve a particular question might not be a direct model. The examiner might not give us a clue that looking at the case scenario, you are required to use SWOT analysis. No. So the students need to have intellectual ability, ability to diagnose the case scenario so that you'll be able to know the appropriate model or theory to use. While in some cases, the required model will be asked directly that probably we should use parcel analysis, we should use PIMS analysis, we should use Taos analysis or Fitzgerald and model. And another thing I want to add is that there is no limit to the number of models that can be asked. We can have a situation whereby two models or three models can be used to solve a particular question. Like for instance, now at the CSME exam, that is March 2020 diet, the question number one, which was a compulsory question. So that question attracted 40 marks. So in the question, two model was tested. So I can tested personal analysis and at the same time, they tested Bowman strategic clock analysis. That was the two model that was tested. So to start with tonight, we are going to start by looking at the Pestel model. So gradually, as our lectures unfold, we are going to look at other models. So I'm interested in looking at Pestel analysis tonight and Potas diamond theory. So in the Pestel analysis that we are looking at, the Pestel analysis is a external macro environmental framework that is used to analyze the effects of the external uncontrollable forces on organizational performance. The personal analysis that we are talking about is that the government did not have control over some of the forces in the external variables. So the external environmental variables comprises of institutional forces that affect the overall performance of the company and at times can hinder the forces that we are talking about. And legal forces. That is what we call the personal analysis. I would like to inform you sorry, the network is fluctuating. So let me pick up from where I stopped. So I said I would like to inform you that aside the personal analysis, if you have read literatures and you have a broad or in-depth understanding of what the external business environment stands for, you will know that there are some other models that we can use to analyze the external forces, among which are the slept factors, that is the past tense of sleep, slept, SLEPT, which comprises of the S sociocultural forces, L legal forces, E economic forces, P political forces, and T technological forces. At the same time, we have models like GPS, which stand for globalization forces, industrial forces, political, economic, social, and technology. So we can have sleep factors. So our sleep factor, we added two variables or forces, which is DC. So SLEP DC means sociocultural, legal, economic, political, demographic, and competitors. We don't have control over our competitors. But to cut it short, when you look at the syllabus of ICANN don't want stress for you. And as a result of that, they emphatically stress that students are required to get used to pestle analysis. If you want to use another model in the exam, is allowed. But they said you should use person analysis and looking at the trend of questions that came out under business environment, particularly the external business environment, students are still required to use the PESTEL analysis. So as a reminder, the PESTEL analysis, PESTEL, stands for political forces, economic forces, sociocultural forces, technology, ecological, and legal forces. So all these forces, they have adverse negative effects on the company performance. And in some instances, the forces that we are talking about can have significant positive effects because they are dynamic in nature. To start with, we look at the P. Let's pick the alphabet P, which is the political forces. The political forces is an external uncontrollable force that have ravaging effects on the company if neglected. The political force comprises of institutional variables that individual companies, government, investors find difficult to control. The neglect of all these forces can retrogress the performance of the company. The neglect of all these forces can bring about a decline in sustainable growth and profitability. As that's the reason why, as a company, individual business enterprise, we have to ensure we take deep cognizance of the political forces and their likely effect on our business. So some of the variables under the political forces that the examiner can inject into our case scenario, or some of the forces that we have to ensure we pay attention to, which can affect our overall performance and portfolio of investment, are the following. We have one, government policy. The government policy have a dual or multiple role in that it fall under the economic forces, it fall under legal forces, and at the same time it fall under political forces. When you look at it of recent, you will discover that the government policy nowadays have been highly unstable. The government policy nowadays is a little bit harsh and unfriendly for any business to try on. And that's the more reason why so many multinational companies are leaving Nigeria because the policy are not favorable at all. So this policy is bringing about increasing operational costs. The policy of the government is causing downscoping, and in some companies we are experiencing downsizing, lay off of staffs because the profits of the company are streamlined and the cost of production, overhead expenses, and what have you is increasing due to the harsh government policy under the political. Typical example that we can cite is the increase in electricity tariff, removal of subsidy, uh, increase in the fuel pump price. All these things is causing a lot of crisis for corporate organization. And at the same time, it's affecting individual and their standard of living. This one erodes their purchasing power. And once the purchasing power of the consumer is eroded, then automatically their patronage for our company's products will reduce. So apart from the government policy under political, we have lack of economic diversification. We find ourselves in a part of the globe where our leaders are they don't have vision, they are not result oriented, they don't diversify this economy at all. We just relent unduly to crude oil and the resources. And the revenue that is coming from this is not judiciously spent for economic diversification, growth, and development. So the agricultural sector and other productive sector, they are neglected. And this thing is affecting the performance of corporate organizations and citizens of Nigeria. At the same time, the government expenditure and progressive provisions, all the progressive provisions are not judicially spent for the intent purpose due to corruption and abuse of power. These are many more have negative effect on the performance of the company. So we look at E, which is economic forces. The economic forces have landmark adverse effects on the company. The only time it can have a positive significant effect is when the economic forces are favorable. But of recent, the economic forces in Nigeria are not favorable at all. So some of the economic forces that can have significant adverse or positive effect on the performance of the company are: one, unemployment rate. You and I know hardly you will see any households that they don't have unemployed youth at home. And these unemployed youth, they are the one that we are expecting to make vital contributions to economic growth in Nigeria. They are brain dead, they are passed through tertiary institutions, they have higher skill, but they're not gainfully employed. So inflation is there. We presently in Nigeria we are experiencing hyperinflation. I would have loved to call it galloping inflation, but what we are experiencing presently is hyperinflation. And this hyperinflation is affecting both corporate organizations and it's affecting the consumers, the customers, investors. So apart from unemployment rate, under the economic factors, we have supply of money, supply of money, interest rate is there. Just of recent, the CBN governor, I don't know the rationale for that decision. It's an irrational decision that increase the interest rate again, VAT value added tax is increased, and they are demanding for bank recapitalization when the economy is poor. This one now forced so many banks to be thinking of merger because they cannot stand alone. They don't have that liquidity power to meet up with the capitalization. So under the economic forces, we have inflation, interest rate, supply of money, invisible hands. The invisible hands are the forces of demand and supply. They have so many effects, powerful effects on the performance of the company and economy as a whole. Apart from the invisible hands, we have the foreign exchange rates and movement. We all agree now that the value of Nigeria as compared to dollars, euro, yen, and all of that, the value of our naira is extremely too low. It doesn't have very strong exchange rates, and this one increase the cost of acquisition of raw materials. Because Nigeria, in terms of technology, we are so poor. So we depend solely on importation of most of these basic raw materials that companies are using. And the higher the foreign exchange rate, the higher the cost of importation, and the higher the cost of production. Which one we have landmark effects on the price of the produce. And that's the reason why we are having increasing price of most of the products. But if the company does not do that, it will be difficult for them to break even, not to talk of making profit. So in the economic environment too, we have natural disaster. The natural disaster have effects on the economy. It has effects on the performance of company. For instance, now you can see now we are experiencing late downpour of rain. This one has caused a lot of havoc to so many farmers that are expecting rain, early rain from June, July, or what have you. So majority of the planted produce now resorted to monumental loss because they don't germinate. Apart from that, look at the scenario that we have in Borno, that we have a natural disaster, flood, where lives, properties, investments are wasted. So the climatic condition is highly unpredictable and it affects like a seasonal product or raw materials. So the climatic conditions fall under economic conditions too. So having look at that, we look at X. The X is the sociocultural cultural forces we are talking about, there are things that companies they don't have control over. Even some of the variables or forces under the sociocultural, the government don't have control over them. Example is the culture of the people, the lifestyle of the people, the effect of religion, the family influence of pressure group, the belief, norms, and culture of people. All these things are major determinants of the purchasing power of the consumers. They are the major determinants of the company performance. Let me give you one scenario about McDonald's, the leading global uh, fast food producers in the whole world that have more than customers. This company believes solely on standardization of all their products and services. So as a result of that, they are regarded as the father of standardization. But when McDonald's moved to China, they diversified their investments and through franchising agreements opened so many outlets in China, including some part of Asia. The company find it difficult to survive. All their success story, when they get to China, it was another ball game entirely. What affected McDonald's in China is because of the religion belief of the China. It's because of the norms, values, the culture of the China citizen. Because McDonald's was trying to standardize their products and services, serving meat pie, all of that, not considering the culture, the beliefs, value, norms of the Asian people. And this affected their performance. Because nobody buy their meat pie. It was later in the course of research, they now discovered that the reason why they are having negative demand, fluctuating demand or no demand for their product is because the meat pie they are serving, cow is a sacred. Larger percentage of the China people, they worship cow, some worship snake, and as a result of that, they don't eat it. It is forbidden. So they have to engage in adaptability. Now they are now serving fish pie, they are now serving chicken pie in lieu of meat pie. So that's a typical example of what we call the effect of culture, lifestyle, norms, and beliefs of the consumers. So next we go to technological forces, the alphabet C. In the technological forces, we don't need to go far. In the Nigerian context and scenario, there is low technological advancement together with poor innovations. And that's the reason why majority of the companies that we have in Nigeria, particularly the indigenous company, they find it extremely difficult to compete with the foreign multinational companies operating in Nigeria. So in terms of technology, government is not investing in technology. And this affects the growth of the company and it affects the quality of the product turned out. Majority of companies are finding it difficult to develop a new innovative product. This is as a result of the low technology. So the level of investment in technology is poor. And this makes the company assets to become obsolete. Most of the assets that most companies are proud of, most of the equipment they are using, they are obsolete because they can't compete with the modern technology that we have, modern equipment. And all these equipment on a daily basis, there are so many new innovations, technological breakthrough that we are having across the globe. So low technology affects companies. And as a result of that, they don't have high return on investment on most of their investment. All the portfolio of businesses they have, their return is a little bit low. Majority of the infant company, particularly small and medium enterprises, that do not have the financial threshold or the liquidity to purchase most of these advanced modern equipment. Because of the small and medium scale enterprises, they die in the process. They collapse, they are liquidated within 3 to 5 years of operation. So technological forces has a greater effect on the company performance. At the same time, we look at ecological forces. The ecological forces is also called demographic forces. That is first thing that you have to know. You can call it ecological forces, you can call it demographical forces. So the ecological forces comprises of forces like the birth and death rate, the population size and density. It comprises of immigration and immigration. Migration is equally there too. Like for instance, in the northern Nigeria, where we have a high rate of insurgents and insecurity, where bloods are crying. A lot of people, they don't think of investment. They think of the safety of their life and property. But because of banks in that places, how many people is patronizing banks? People keep their money for precautionary motive because they are migrating from that zone. It's not a comfort zone. That they are killing people on a daily basis. So the ecological forces equally comprises of the social footprints of the company. The social footprint comprises of both negative and positive social footprints. The positive ones are the environmental protection and sustainability. So anywhere where we have this, it makes the company business to grow and succeed. Part of the ecological forces too equally require compliance to carbon emissions and environmental regulations. How many companies can meet up with that? Those companies that are striving and struggling to break even. So they don't have the resources to contribute socially to corporate responsibility, not to talk of ensuring 100% compliance to environmental sustainability and social footprint. So part of the ecological forces that we have again is government regulations with respect to afforestation and many more. So all these forces, they affect the performance of the company negatively, and at times they can affect it positively depending on the case scenario that we are given. So by the time we see the pre-scene, we'll be able to know. And at times the pre-scene question just give us a 40% of the clue of what we are expecting in the exam. There are some of the questions that will be hidden. Some models that we are going to use, you might not have 100% or 40% idea of the models that we are going to run. So that's the more reason why we have to ensure that we critically look at all the various models that we can likely use in exam depending on the case scenario. So the last forces in the business environment is L, alphabet L. This alphabet L implies the legal forces. So the legal forces comprises of the government's regulations, constitutional provisions, CBN regulations, the Bofia law, BOFIA. Bofia law means the Banks and Other Financial Institutions Act. So the Bofia law, agency laws, all these things are what we call the legal forces. And you know, as far as the legal forces is concerned, no company have control over them. So what is expected is that once the governments have made pronouncement of any policy or regulations, then we are expected to adhere rigidly, zero compliance to avoid litigation or sanction. Even the Code of Corporate Governance, both the rule-based approach and the principle-based approach, they are expected to be complied by all complaints, non-limited to the listing complaints alone. So the legal forces is so powerful that any complaint that fail to comply with it will be sanctioned. And this can cause reputational damage for the company. It can discourage a lot of investors. It can affect the customer's patronage. It can even affect the employee's commitment and perceived organizational trust. So all the uh, external environmental forces that we have looked at, political forces, economic forces, sociocultural forces, technological, ecological, and legal, they have ravaging effects on the company. And I inform you that I don't want to preempt you, that it is at all time they have negative adverse effects. Because I can look at it that that's the expectations of students, majority of the students. What of when they now bring a case study that part of this environmental policy are favorable? For instance, they can tell us that because of the harsh economic policy in Mumbara Republic, because they might not want to mention Nigeria or Lagos, that the government of that state has decided to give tax relief. The government of that place have decided to offer uh, tax holiday or duty drawback for any companies that engage in exploitation or contribute to the gross domestic product of the nation. And in Nigeria context too, about some couple of weeks ago, immediately after the national protest, the government pronounced that they are going to give a sort of tariff and duty free holiday to companies that import some basic food items. You can see that one is favorable because of the protest. So we have some instances like that. So we have to ensure that we read and digest the case study. We must not have curiosity to answer. Ensure that you know what the examiners are actually uh, requesting us to do. So having looked at the vested forces, the next thing that we are going to look at and discuss is Potas Diamond forces. Potas Diamond forces are the second one that we have in our slide. The Potas Diamond theory. Can I continue, please?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. The Potas Diamond theory will be simplified in the next 30-40 minutes for your understanding. Is what we call Potas Diamond theory. Potas Diamond theory is also called national competitive theory. National competitive theory. The Potas Diamond theory is also called national competitive theory. This theory was formulated by Michael Porter to provide answers and solutions to unending arguments about how come some companies are performing excellently in the domestic market, and by the time they move to the international arena, that is international market, the companies they are equally performing excellently. So what is the secret behind this? A lot of scholars, they brought about a lot of models, theories to explain the rationale why companies enjoy both national and international competitive advantage over others. But with the advent of the Potter's diamond theory, then we'll be able to have the reasons why company can gain both domestic and global competitive advantage. The Potas diamond theory, apart from being called national competitive theory, it is also called interlocking strategies. It is also called interlocking strategies. This theory stipulates that there are four forces. There are four forces model that give company both domestic, that is local, and international competitive advantage if well utilized. These four forces, they are interrelated. Effective utilization of these forces by any government, corporate organizations, and conglomerate company will give them superior performance in any market where they are operating, be it domestic or international domain. The Porter's diamond forces comprises of the following four interrelated variables. We have one, firm strategy, structure, and rivalry. That is number one. Two, demand factors. Three, factor condition. Four, support from related complaints. I have to ensure in exam condition, if we are required to use this model in answering the question given to us, having stated all these four forces, you must make a diagrammatic representation of the forces. And the very reason why we have the diagram, just ensure the diagram comes together and we interlink it with an arrow because they are interrelated. So again, before we proceed further, the diamond theory comprises of four interrelated variables that give company domestic and international competitive advantage if well utilized. So the four variables or forces are: one, the firm strategy, structure, and rivalry; two, demand condition; three, factor condition; and the last one is support from related companies. So permit me to quickly glance through all these forces so that we can be able to have a deep understanding and retentive memory about them. The first one that we have as a firm structure, strategy, and rivalry. What does it mean? And what exactly is Potter trying to say here? What Michael Potter is trying to inform you and I and other investors is that any complaint that put in place effective and functioning structure, that is organization structure. When we are talking of organization structure, we are talking of departmentalization, organogram, reporting system, hierarchy of authority, chain of command, do you get this? Coordination of human and material resources, and synergy, just to mention few. When the company put in place a good structure, and at the same time, the company is able to formulate good strategy, they implement the strategy, periodically they evaluate the strategy, and put in place a control measure. Such companies are bound to perform, be it in the local or international arena. And above all, the company knew that they are not the only one operating in the industry. They have competitors. So when they keep an eye on the competitors, doing competitors monitoring, environmental scanning, competitors analysis, then such complaints perform very well. So because of the curiosity for the competitors not to weaken their competitive advantage or bypass them, the company become more productive. They become more customers oriented. That's what we call customer centricity. The company value their customers. They produce innovative and quality products. At times introduce differentiated products because of their rival, because they want to maintain their market share and continue to enjoy high return on investment and market expansion. So any company that put in place good structure, strategy, and rivalry, they perform very well. The second one that we have is demand condition. Michael Potter said the reason why all these companies are gaining national competitive advantage within and outside the country is because they are enjoying increasing demand for their products. And it mean customers are not demanding for the company's products. That will have discouraged them, and they will not be able to enjoy uh, spontaneous and sustainable growth. The company will be struggling to survive. But because of the increasing demand for the company's products, that encouraged the company to improve their production capacity for them to have excesses that they will take to the international market. This product they are taking to international market, they made the product to be innovative. They adapt the product to international standards. So such company are bound to succeed. The third one that we have is factor conditions. That factor condition is talking about the ability of a country, a nation, or corporate entity to effectively utilize their limited resources and improve upon it. Under the factor condition, Michael Porter says there are two basic factor conditions that can give any company local and international competitive advantage. The two factor conditions are one, the basic factor, two, the advanced factor. The factor conditions that can give company and a nation competitive advantage is one, basic factor, two, we have the advanced factor. What is the meaning of the basic factor? The basic factor comprises of the natural resources that nations are endowed with. So any nation that effectively utilize all these resources are bound to succeed and enjoy comparative cost advantage in the international domain. Such a nation will experience balance of payments. They will not have deficit. Such a nation will be able to uh, experience economic variability. Any complaint in a country with all these abundant basic factors, such complaints are expected to perform very well, provided they have access to all these basic infrastructures. So the basic factors comprises of the land, labor, capital, entrepreneur, soil, sea, population. You can see that God is great. All these resources we have it abundant in Nigeria, but they are not effectively utilized due to poor governance. Increasing population in Nigeria is a cause. But while in that of Asia and some other parts of globe where they have increasing population, they are effectively utilized. All their levels of labor, skill, unskilled, semi-skilled labors, they are contributing to gross domestic product and economic growth. When you look at other resources, gone are those days when Nigeria, we are among the leading companies in terms of exportation of cocoa and the rest. Where are all these resources? Even the crude oil is not effectively utilized due to some cabals. Even in the indigenous uh, refinery that we have, you can see the way they are playing politics. That will have been a sort of relief to the masses. So all our resources, crude oil, cocoa, top of it, gold and what have you, of what use are we putting it to? Our increasing populations, we have millions of graduates out there. They are not gainfully employed. All this is affecting economic performance and that of companies too. So having looked at the factor conditions, that is the basic factor. The second factor condition that Porter discussed about is advanced factors. So the advanced factors now discuss critically on the personal contributions. The advanced factors comprise of the personal contribution of the company, investment of the company and a nation on the citizen. If it is a company, the advanced factor discuss about the investment of the company on innovation, investment on in R&D, research and development, investment on operating system, method of production, supply chain management to guarantee total quality management and service delivery to the customers. Investment on the human capital of the company in form of staff training, developmental program, knowledge gap, capacity development, and many more. Staff motivations. So when company or a nation do this, they automatically they are bound to perform excellently and succeed. So the last diamond theory first that we have to discuss about is support from related complaints. In the support from related complaints, Michael Potter said the reason why some complaints are doing extremely very fine, or the reason why some nations have competitive and comparative advantage over others, is because they are enjoying support from so many sources. So any complaint, be it infant complaint or international complaint, that enjoys support from the government, enjoys support from the NGOs, non governmental organization. They are enjoying support from philanthropist individuals. They are enjoying support from subsidiary or parent companies. They say such nation or companies are bound to succeed. And these are some of the support that the likes of Dangote, Femi Otedola, Rabiu, and what have you are enjoying. And the very reason why Dangote now, he took a lot of risks in diversifying conglomerately into the refinery business. His expectation was not met. He was of the opinion that they are going to give him the issuer artificial monopoly and 100% support. But now he's struggling to have a resound alliance with NNPC and some other cabals. So when a company enjoys support from UNICEF, World Bank, the government, investors, and what have you, such companies perform very well. And if it is a country too, if you are enjoying support from the World Bank, UNICEF, some other companies that we are countries that we have bilateral or unilateral relationship with, such country perform very well. So Porter now said the combination of these four, firm strategy, structure, and rivalry, demand factors, factor conditions, and support from related companies or government give a company local and international competitive advantage. So that is what Porter has discussed. And then since in the exam condition, it is the applicability of these theories or model that we need. So we don't need to go to the criticism of the Potter's diamond theory. You understand? So the only thing that we can now discuss on is what are the roles of the government in ensuring that our infant complaints, local complaints, have a very strong competitive advantage too. So what the government are expected to do is for the government to formulate policy, friendly and enterprising policy that can bring about nurturing and the growth of the small and medium enterprises and infant company in Nigeria. Two, the government should bring about relief in time of tax, particularly for the infant and emerging companies that are newly established or struggling to survive. There should be a sort of tax relief. I put in that material, which is not here with me, that we have to ensure avoidance of multiple taxation. What is double taxation is killing. At the same time, government should encourage exportation, invest heavily in research, innovation, assist company in the area of tax, all the farmers too. They should have access to soft loan without stringent collateral. Because majority of the deposit money bank, they consider all the small and medium scale enterprises and the local industry, the upcoming small one. They consider them unbankable because they don't have the required collateral requirement. And most of the funds that the government make available to the farmers, small and medium scale enterprises, women entrepreneurs, and what have you, they don't have access to all this money. They have limited access. Those people that the money is meant for, they don't have the opportunity to access this money and use it to boost their business. So they rely on anchor borrowing, personal savings, which is not sufficient for them to go into mass production or large scale production. At the same time, the government have to ensure that there is a stable electricity supply at low cost. This issue of band A, band B, band C killing. It is killing because it increased the standard, it increased the cost of living. It is increasing the operational cost of companies. Companies are paying billions of naira for electricity bills. And that's the reason why majority of them close their shop. They divest their investment here and move to another company. So they said Nigeria does not have an enabling environment to nurture and support the growth of companies. And by the time the company does go and liquidate their business, this adds more to the unemployment problem in Nigeria. So with this, we are able to discuss comprehensively on the person analysis and Potas diamond forces. So conclusively, the person analysis is a framework that we use to analyze the effect of the external uncontrollable forces on the business performance. So the person analysis comprises of the political forces, economic forces, sociocultural forces, technological forces, ecological forces, and the legal forces. While the Porter's Diamonds theory, also called national competitive theory and interlocking strategy, comprises of four forces that, if well utilized and integrated, give company domestic and international competitive advantage. So these forces are: one, the firm's structure, strategy, and rivalry; two, demand condition; three, factor condition; and four, support from related companies. So with this, we bring our lecture to an end this night. Do you have any question, please, my learned students? And hope the lecture is clear and understood.
Thank
I'm
you.
listening to you.
Yeah, you can also help by giving us an idea of the next lecture, what we should be expecting in
The
the
idea
next
of the
lecture.
next lecture is that we can look at any model or we can discuss about it. The models are many. Our next lecture can be five forces model. It can be SWOT analysis. It can be Taos analysis. We can even look at the Fitzgerald and Moon theory. Part of the model that I can require here, the Ingo Ansoff model is there that we have done in the past. So strategic clock analysis is there. All these theories and models that we have discussed, including the value chain analysis model that talks about the primary and secondary value chain analysis, the balance scorecard, and KPI, key performance indicators. So these are some of the models that we are going to look at. You get possibly now that you inform me, I'm going to put on the platform to be our next theories. Probably you can read ahead too if there is time, because I know that it's time constraint. We're going to work Monday to Friday, Saturday and Sunday. We have another commitment for our lectures, and I know God will
Exactly.
definitely crown our efforts, and all of us are going to be successful in this forthcoming exam. I wish each and every one best of luck. So, is there any other contribution, please? Hello. Okay. In view of no other contributions or questions, then I implore you to give me the permission to bring this lecture to an end. I thank you for your time, commitment, and I pray God will continue to enrich your knowledge. Thanks so much. Mr. Anthony, are you trying to say something?
Yes, I was trying to say that is there going to be like maybe some an item or study material you just send to the group chat? I don't know. It's
Can I
actually
do what?
going any material like
Okay, any past question?
oh, what I mean is that what's just like a handout or a note material.
Okay. What I have in mind is that most of the materials we needed, since we are just treating model, I don't want it to be too voluminous. Any topic that we are treating like that, I put it on the platform. And now that you mentioned that too, I will factor that in. Out of my limited time, you can see what I can do to bring all these things together for you.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, you're welcome, sir. So, in view of no other question, I wish you and regards to the family all the best. Bye for now.